Alright, welcome back everyone. So, I know what you might be thinking, you might have seen the video. Ooh, half an hour, what could this be? And you probably also read the title, so you actually do know what the video is about. So, well yeah, it's a Q&A with Imperial undergraduate staff. So this is basically the admissions team. They deal with every single thing to do with admissions. So any questions that the answering is pretty much correct. Whatever I answer is not guaranteed to be correct, but, you know, it may possibly. This is not. So this is a Q&A with Imperial undergraduate admissions team staff members. And we're going to be asking very interesting questions, very cool questions, all about admissions, BMAT, GCSES, every single thing that you want to know about Imperial is going to be asked today, and they're going to be giving you answers. There are going to be links down below as well, so go check those out. There are going to be also, wait for this, subtitles down below, so you can literally read the answers on a Word document if you want to. Also, there are going to be links to any website. There's going to be email addresses down below. There'll be timestamps also there or here or somewhere. I don't know. It'll be there somewhere. So go have a look at that. And yeah, we just hope you enjoy the video because it's taken so long to do and, you know, create, and it's been a really cool thing. So we hope you enjoy the video. And yeah, on behalf of myself, let's get into the video. I think if we just take a look at the questions that we've been, so just for clarity, we've got 9 questions here, and all of them you've answered in quite a lot of detail, which is amazing. So I'll definitely include this sort of transcript thing in the description as well. But I think if we just look at maybe some of them, I think some of the more burning questions that people have are about things like the BMAT. So this is something that comes up so many times. I mean, people ask about the BMAT, and like you said, just to clarify one last time, hopefully, the BMAT, how important is it, would you say, for an application?
So for us, BMAT is pretty important. It's one of the means in which we shortlist candidates for. So we always say you look at the admissions process at Imperial like hurdles. So there's certain things that you have to apply by UCAS, so you have to complete your application, you have to sit your BMAT. And almost like once you've done each of the sections, obviously if it's all good, so if application wise you meet our academic requirements, so you've got your predicted grades meet those kind of minimum entry requirements, you get through to the kind of the next round, which would be the BMAT. If you pass and you achieve the kind of like we always say you want to do as well as you possibly can in BMAT, because the higher the score, the more likely you are to get passed into interview. And so that is kind of like, it's almost like the gatekeeper for entry into interview is the BMAT.
You shall not pass!
So for us, we know BMAT is difficult and it is challenging, very time pressures. But it's for us, it's a real like good indicator of actually performance at A level, and like how you can kind of like deal with pressure, how you can deal with kind of that, the scientific, like your kind of core scientific understanding, but also like your problem solving, because all of that is stuff that actually once you come into medical school, we're not expecting you to be like, right, immediately I'm going to go and see a patient and I can solve them. But it's kind of like that willingness to learn and the ability to take the knowledge that you've got and apply it critically, and actually in taking other people's views, are all things that actually the BMAT looks at and tries to measure.
And prepare, like make sure that you have a look at the BMAT website. They recently published even more resources. There's past papers that you can take. They do workshops, there are videos. So just try and make sure that you prepare, that you can control what you can control so that you at the best of your ability.
Yeah, and we always say you can look at so our main medicine prospectus pages has a bit of a kind of a rough idea of what our thresholds are for the BMAT. They do change annually, and depending on how many applications come in, 2, also how well everybody does, the score can change. So it does change annually. So which is why we say, try and do as best, kind of the best that you can. Practice is kind of the key, and getting that like the time practices in is what we think is really key. But again, if people go and have a look at the website, they can have at least a bit of a guide. So when you are practicing and you're doing your practice paper and actually getting scores back, if you're getting kind of like above fives, you almost want, if you can get in the upper fives, then you have a pretty good chance at actually meeting the thresholds for what that year would be. But as I said, it's all, the BMAT is probably the biggest bit to anticipate what the scores will be, because there's so many variables in it. Definitely, as Lydia said, like the BMAT website actually is brilliant with the amount of like tools they've got. They've got lots of like applicant guides, and you can go through kind of past papers, but also like best answer questions as well. So for us, we would definitely say don't apply, don't go and like spend a lot of money on like real key core like BMAT revision groups, because actually sometimes that doesn't work for the person. And we would also say maybe revise up on the areas. So say for example you haven't, because obviously the BMAT does cover your core like biology, chemistry, physics. If say for example you're not doing physics, maybe do kind of do some revision on that to make sure that actually your levels of knowledge are up to kind of the level that you need to do. But really we say because the time pressure is so hot, is actually just get used to doing those kind of like fast, like the multiple questions within the time, the quicker, if after the first attempt you run over, that's what you've got to then focus on, and just keep trying and get down to that kind of like half an hour, 45 minute, like depending on what, obviously what section you're looking at.
And the last thing about the BMAT is you probably know that the BMAT's split into 3 sections. And so some people do wonder, does Imperial sort of look at any particular section more than the others, or is it just a generalised overall thing?
So it's a really good question. We tend to look really like probably more closely at section 1, section 2. So obviously section 3 is your essay writing one, and we're not saying that don't like write anything on it. But for the section 3 you only have to kind of score like the bare minimum threshold, which normally is pretty standard, and it's kind of like as long as you can write like fairly clear English and you kind of write in a constructive way, you should be fine on that section. So really section 1, section 2 is where at Imperial we look at the combined score. So it's your combined score between section 1 and section 2 added together gives you that kind of like overall threshold that you've got to meet each year. So if you do, so for example, the reason why we chose to do it this way is sometimes people can do better in like one section, your actual application of the knowledge, rather than the other side you might do better on. So as long as you meet kind of like what we have is a minimum threshold across, which is very, very low, as long as you meet that, and then there is an upper threshold which is kind of your combined score, but it means that you can juggle between them. So if you do better, say for example section 1 you've done really, really well, and section 2 maybe not quite as well, that overall score combined together hopefully will get you past that top threshold. So ideally section 1, section 2 is the key ones that we are more focused on.
Cool. So I think that pretty much covers everything that we need to talk about the BMAT for. So I mean the next thing is really about the MMI and sort of that whole chapter of the application. Very briefly, before we talk anything about the MMI, what can people do to learn more about Imperial, obviously, before revising for the MMI? What can they do to learn about it?
We actually prepared a page just for schools and students where they get any link that they need. I'm going to send this to you again. It's also in the document that we gave you. We also have a page on MMIs that we created last year, the first time, and that's again, you will have the most updated information, how the MMI runs, and any change that we might do to the process. Of course, there's also the college prospectus, where they can find out more about the curriculum and entry requirements and all of that.
Yeah, and I would also say I think the best way I think anyone can find out about Imperial is actually talking to current students. So, like talking to yourself, talking to, like find that more, because actually the students really are ambassadors, like they know exactly what life is like as a medic. So the Imperial 360 site, which is kind of in the current climate, it's kind of your virtual like entry onto the campus. You can also like link up with current medical students via the uni buddy. So again, I think it's maximizing the chances to talk to people even in the virtual environment. Attending some of the open days this year are all virtual again, but there's opportunity to ask questions to current students. We also tend to run like Instagram lives afterwards, so again it's options for people to actually get the real like story about Imperial and what's it like as a medic.
Yeah, I mean that's really all it is. Obviously, with it being virtual this year, there are a lot of resources that you can go through, and I'll also include those in the video as well. But I think now if we just speak a little bit about the MMIs. Now, obviously Imperial run that MMI sort of structure for their interviews, and that's quite a new thing. It's coming, I think, recent years it's come in. So people do want, obviously, panel interviews you can prepare pretty easily with a parent or with a sibling. But obviously, unless you've got about 8 members in your family, it's pretty difficult to prepare for an MMI. So people just wonder how exactly can they sort of get used to that environment or that sort of setting before they sit their actual interview.
This year we've done a trial session at Christmas. So during the Christmas holidays, students could log on to obviously this year it was all online, it was asynchronous. So they had to follow all the questions in a video and record themselves answering. We did publish this trial so they could like kind of see how it was organized and trial, even record themselves and try the whole process. So we always try to give as much information as possible beforehand. Obviously it depends. Now with COVID, everything is a little bit more depending on how the situation goes. So for next year, there will be probably a whole different process again, where we will inform students on how it runs.
And I think even if you don't have like 8 different people to come and talk to, I think actually just even training yourself to talk in like what is probably under 5 minutes, you set the concept of talking for 5 minutes sometimes is like, what on earth would I talk for 5 minutes, on one, because normally, the MMIs, it's one particular topic. On our website, we actually identify which of those kind of the kind of values of those particular stations are going to be, because we don't want it to be, hugely complicated, and we don't want to trick anyone into the questions. Like, the questions that will come up at the MMI tend to be those core values that we are looking for, as a future medic and a future doctor going into the profession. So it's even if you've got like a couple of friends, just to be like, I'm going to talk at you for 5 minutes about this one particular topic, because you want, the time goes really quickly. So equally, you want to be as succinct as possible. You kind of don't want to be like and we know everyone's going to be nervous, and in normal times you have like a nice smiley interviewer like talking with you, and you're just like, come on guys, you can do it, it's absolutely fine. Obviously in the post-COVID world, things are likely to be a little bit different. But I would say, even if it's just talking to your mum or talking to your dog or an animal, just for like, right, time yourself for 5 minutes, it's just practicing that, and then maybe jump into a different topic, just so you get an idea of that time. Same as what we said with the BMAT, it's all about the timings, and I think that's a key skill, I would say, is just getting that 5 minutes, because it's amazing how quickly it goes, and you think, there's no way I'm going to talk for 5 minutes, and then suddenly you're like, I've literally haven't, I'm only about halfway through all the things I wanted to say, and the 5 minutes gone, and I'm expected to kind of like exit out of the interview room.
I think, would you recommend that people sort of prepare to be sort of a little bit more concise with the things they say, almost prepare for that scenario?
Yeah, it's a really fine line, because obviously you don't want to be too prepared that actually it then comes across as actually you're completely rehearsed and you're like, I would like to be a doctor because I like to help you, and because ideally the section in the interview is where we're really asking you to shine and actually show us a little bit of personality and like what, you know, why do you want to, you know, you want to be a doctor, and actually what are all these core values. So even if it is like actually in the preparing and you've looked at the website, you know that there are certain topics coming up, you're like, you know, there's going to be something on why you want to be a doctor, so your commitment to medicine, you know, there's probably going to be something on teamwork. Even if you've got a couple of things, so in your practice you're like, right, I definitely want to talk about this, and I definitely want to talk just a bullet point, so you know kind of the core concept of what you want to talk about. But actually when you're in the interview room, actually you can go, you know, you can go a little bit off piece, and actually when hopefully obviously we are aiming to go, you know, back towards more, you know, in-person interviews, the interviewer will be there, so there is sometimes opportunity to be prompted out of the question. But actually some of the interviews won't. They want to see how do you get yourself out of the situation. If you're like, oh my god, I've literally just repeated myself for the third time, that is part of the process as well, to be like, oh, actually, you know, I need to stop myself, and actually I'm going to carry on with a different part because actually I've already told you about this.
Yeah, we even had students changing their mind as they were answering. So they would start with an answer and then go, actually, you know what? No, I just changed my mind. And then they went. And as long as you explain what's happening and what you're thinking about, that's great, because it shows that you can reflect and change your mind and talk about things.
It is obviously a very difficult thing to do in MMI, but I think what you said is exactly right, and it's key to sort of know whether you're sort of going on a bit or whether you're sort of speaking a little bit too little and a little bit coming across a bit robotic. And I think that's very important, obviously, in an MMI setting. I think now if we can maybe move away from the MMIs and to a very common question about GCSEs, and people ask this so many times, and I'm sure you've had this question so many times as well. The final answer: do GCSEs count for an Imperial application?
So yeah, no, absolutely, we get this quite a lot, and obviously some medical schools do count GCSEs. At Imperial we don't. So the only thing that we are really looking at within GCSEs is your English language, and literally in old money you've just got to get a level like a B. But go and have a look at the website, will tell like the exact kind of like qualifications that you do need. So that's the only one we look at. If you manage to like, you know, mess up completely GCSEs, but you brought it all back in A levels, we're not gonna ever look at those.
Okay, so hopefully that gives us sort of a resounding answer that they don't count for anything, and I'm sure you're going to hear that again in the future at some point. So the next question is quite an open-ended question, or it's a general question about work experience and volunteering, and people always sort of wonder about how much they need to do, and sort of whether it's more of work experience or whether it's more volunteering they need to do. And can you give some sort of clarification on that whole topic?
Maybe the bottom line is that rather than what kind of experience you have done, we want to know what you learned from it. So maybe rather than focusing on what, try to tell us that you know what being a doctor means through the experiences that you've had. Especially in these years where it's definitely more difficult to get a proper like work experience, a physical work experience in a healthcare setting. We want to know what you know about being a doctor, like your reflections about the profession. Fran, you tell me if this summarizes.
That's completely right. So I think you're completely right. I think everyone's focused on like, oh, do I have to get like 1 week? Do I have to get a month? Do I have to get a year? And actually it's more about like what you've learned from it. So it could be that actually, you know, you had 1 day in a hospital, but actually it taught you a lot, you know, or you actually, you know, you were in the hospital, but actually you were just, you know, you were doing admin, but you worked with the multidisciplinary team and you learned the back, you know, the back, you know, the back office of, you know, of actually what it takes to run a healthcare profession. Or you could actually be, you know, you could be working like on a much longer term with, say, like a child centre or a disability centre, something where you are actually, you know, you're interacting with the public, because, you know, we know a lot of doctors are people because they like talking to people, and they like, they like the interaction, and that interaction can happen from so many different places, as opposed to, oh, actually you have to go into a hospital, that's the only experience that we accept. I think nowadays it's much more varied than, obviously in years past it would be like you must have 1 week experience in a hospital in this particular kind of remit. Nowadays it can, it's very much about what you have learned from it, and actually does it, has that not only, highlighted that actually, yeah, this might be the profession I want to go into, but actually you're also aware of some of the challenges that the profession is going to go into. And equally, the work experience for us, it's not only is it important for actually confirming actually this might be where I want to go, but if it's not where you want to go, it's not, it's not almost like a conveyor belt that once you start this process and you're like, I've then got to complete the medical school, when actually when you've done your work experience and you figured out actually maybe that side of the medical profession is not what I want to do, and it allows another option to go off. So I do think work experience and volunteering experience is really helpful just to define, actually, is this the pathway I want to go on?
Yeah, and your motivation. Maybe you've done a particular experience, or this year there were even virtual experiences that you could do, and maybe in that instance you found out why you want to be a doctor. So it's all, as we said before, reflection about your motivation and what it means to be a doctor. Also, as Fran said, the challenges of the profession.
Perfect. Yeah, I think hopefully that settles some people, obviously, who are worried about getting access to volunteering and work experience and opportunities across the country. So the next thing is a little bit more sort of, I think this would be a lesser popular question about financial support. Some people do ask about this, obviously, people coming from different backgrounds and coming from different parts of the world. They do wonder about things like bursary scholarships. So at Imperial, is that option there for financial support in some capacity?
Yeah, so there is lots of financial support depending on your circumstances, both at a college level and within the department. So at college level, we do have what we call the Imperial bursary, and that is pretty much mostly allocated to home students, but if your household income is lower than 60,000, you get basically free. It's a free grant, so it's not paid back. It's all calculated based on your Student Finance England submission, so there's no additional paperwork you have to go through. It's kind of like an automatic. The only thing that you tend to have to decide is whether you are just going to have it for 4 years, or because the medicine program 6, you can kind of sacrifice a little bit of the funds, so it spreads out across all the 6 years, and that's one of the key decisions you can make. There are loads of opportunities, so I always think the finances shouldn't stop someone from coming. And even once you are enrolled, if you do come across any financial difficulties, the school has its own hardship fund, which is all based on endowments or donations from alumni, and we can help hundreds of students across the program, and that's mostly on living costs, but that can be anything up to £1,000, and you can come back multiple times to our service. So there are lots of ways in which actually, if you do come across a difficulty, there are interventions in that should hopefully help.
Perfect. I mean, that pretty much sums it up, and that's the question which has pretty much a set answer, and there are loads of things and options. And that they can probably look at the website as well, which will probably have a lot of links, I'm assuming. Definitely. So I think that pretty much sums up everything about financial support, which is really good. And I think we're pretty much on the last question here, and that's quite an open-ended one. So if this was sort of your last thing, and you could say maybe one more thing to somebody, whether they're international or home or whatever, who wants to apply to Imperial College for medicine, what would be the one or two things that you would say to them to think about maybe over the next year or so?
Oh, that's a really, really good question. So I think if you're looking and deciding on, basic institutions to apply for, you're not sure which one, I would do your research. I would just, take as many of the opportunities that are out there to talk to individuals about what life is like at Imperial. we're not going to be like, you have to come to Imperial, because actually sometimes, different institutions suit different people. So I think it's doing your research and having like a realistic idea of, some of the challenges that might be at Imperial, the type of like hospital placements that you might experience. We are a very scientific, science focused institution. The way in which our new curriculum is being formed, it is, a bit different. So I think, anyone that's looking, I think make sure you do your research, come and talk to the admissions team, talk to current students, like attend the open days where it kind of gives you a bit of a flavour of what life would be like. Because then, if you've really properly thought about it and you're happy with your decision, you're going to be happy when you get here, rather than being like, oh, actually maybe somewhere else would have been better for me. So yeah, that would be my tip.
I think I would say control what you can control. So prepare as much as you can for the BMAT. As Fran said, talk to students, come to open days, really do whatever you can, whatever is in your hands to do. And then however it goes, you will be happy with how you've conducted yourself during the admission process. So that would be my...
Great. That's probably a very difficult question to answer looking back on it. So the fact that you've given two very different things is quite useful actually, and to think about properly. And I think that's everything else that I've got down in my questions, unless you've both got anything else you want to say, if there's anything else you think we've missed out.
I don't think so.
No, I think hopefully that's been helpful for
definitely, yeah,
for people to think about. But yeah, and I think if anybody is ever like worried or wants more information about the admissions process, I think it's just come and talk to the admissions team in the School of Medicine. Like we're always happy to talk to people about anything admissions related. So, and I think we're keen to have as many people from different backgrounds as possible come to Imperial, because that's the the community you're going to go out hopefully as future medics and future doctors is extremely diverse. So I think having people from different backgrounds and and have different experiences and different ethnicities, I think is super important.
Cool. That's everything that I've got written down, and I mean, if that's everything that you've said, thank you very much for jumping on this Teams call and talking with me. It's been really useful, and I'm sure everyone at home who's watching this will definitely find this really useful. Thanks very much for me.
Thank you. Perfect.
Yeah, perfect. I think that's the end of it, really. Thanks again very much for doing this with me. Welcome back. So bad. Okay, welcome back everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed the video and it did benefit you guys in some mannerisms. Because hopefully you did enjoy the video, guys, because really it took so long to edit, way too long to edit and compose and do, and obviously the people down in the admissions teams are so nice for doing this video. It was 11 on Friday, I think, and they jumped on the call, and I was like super cool of them. So please do give your thanks to them if you want to. Their contact details are down below if you've got any other questions for them. If you've got questions about me, great, I'm happy to answer those questions. Just send them to my social media, which will be somewhere here possibly, or if not, it'll be in the description down below. Also, feel free to get in contact with Imperial. Their email's down below. Also, any of the links, everything's down below. All the I think the transcript or the text file for the video is down below. Also, I know, so many things, every single timestamp to the question. So if you watched this video and thought, want to go back to that bit about the MMIs, go down below, timestamps right there, click on it, and you'll be able to watch all of it back in its wonder. So yeah, hopefully you did enjoy the video. Again, please like, please subscribe, please. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the video, and we will see you in the next one.